Hey, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Amanda, and this is Beyond a Ballot.
Hi, and welcome to the Beyond a Ballot podcast. I am Rachael Sebo.
And I'm Amanda Alvaro.
Amanda, I feel like I haven't seen you in forever because we took a break week last week, the same as Parliament, but we're back now. So I'm excited to get going on a few more episodes before we break for the Christmas holiday.
Do you want to know a fun fact about last week?
I do.
Fun fact. So Lily, we haven't even introduced her yet, but we're going to introduce somebody, and this is going to make a lot of sense in a minute. But when I was 10 years old, I went to Queen's Park, which is in Toronto.
Yep.
It's where the Ontario Parliament sits. And I walked into that building and I thought, wow, I can't believe people get to work here every day. Last week. So anyway, fast forward many years, I would ultimately work there as a press secretary and eventually a communications director for under the McGuinty government, which was 10 million years ago. Last week, I went back to my old stomping grounds. So while we were off, I went back because we were advocating for Rethink Breast Cancer, and I got to sit and watch Question Period. It's been such a long time since I've done that in real life. So while we were taking a break, I was not taking a break from politics.
You were fully engaged in politics.
I was.
I haven't been to a Question Period in years. Maybe I should go back.
No, you're missing absolutely nothing.
Well, there's another topic, Question Period itself. I think a lot of people want to talk about that. But that's so fun. I want to go back to the BC legislature and watch and see everybody. I love those throwback.
I know.
Okay, well, so we've decided this week that we are going to go back to what we're calling basics. But we realized that we were missing a key component to educating all of our listeners that they're looking for more of foundational questions and answers to Canadian political topics.
And so this week, we are calling this episode the Beyond a Ballot Academy, and we have brought in a very special guest to help us.
It's my great pleasure to welcome Lily, who we've already talked about 5 times. Lily is a 10-year-old entrepreneur based in British Columbia whose candle empire has skyrocketed. It's called Lily Lou's Aromas. And I met Lily at a business conference last week where I was giving a talk about politics. And I know that she's now really passionate about politics. So I've heard. And I know, of course, she's passionate about business. So she's going to join us today to break down some really big questions about politics. Hi, Lily.
Hi. I am super excited to be on this.
We are super excited to have you. And from the moment I met you, what was the first thing I said to you? I think I said, I need you to come on my podcast, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You were like, I need you to come on my podcast and like about politics. And I was like, actually? And she was like, you were like, do you know about politics? I was like, actually, I have no clue. Because I am totally beginner at this.
But this was like apropos of my 10-year-old story. Now it all makes sense to our listeners.
Yeah.
Right? Now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Here we go. But Lily, we're so excited to have you. And also it's so much fun to have an academy. And I feel like this conversation, I have my own 10-year-old son and his friends, I hope will come together to listen to this podcast, because I think the earlier you learn a little bit about politics, it's like the seeds for growth. It's the kind of thing that you'll go back to the well over and over again. And hopefully that means that you'll be even more engaged in politics in the future. So we are very pumped for this conversation.
So Lily, you are going to ask us some questions and you're going to just run through them, and whatever comes to your mind, feel free to ask us. But did you feel that you wanted to know more after we talked about politics last week?
Yeah, I wanted to totally learn it because I thought it was like super, like I wanted to come on your podcast and learn about it because I feel like learning about politics is a really great thing to know about, you know?
It is. And we're, like Amanda said, we're hoping your generation will know more earlier than ours.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with the questions that you have for us? So throw one at us.
First question is, what is politics?
Rachel, you're going to take that one. Go.
I figured. Okay. Politics, it's a great question. That's a hard question to break down. It's like trying to describe a color. Can you describe a color? It's impossible. So politics in general, what it boils down to is decision making. And so there's different levels of decision makers. There's the municipal government, the provincial, and the federal governments. And all of them have certain responsibilities where they need to make decisions. So politics, in my mind, and Amanda can give you her interpretation of this very broad question, but I always think it comes down to the people who represent a constituency, a group of people, and make decisions on their behalf. Is that a 10-year-old explanation? I don't know.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Amanda, what do you think?
It was good. I agree. I think that's true. I always say to my kids, like, it's about leadership, right? And we all can't be at the table.
Yeah.
And some of us are at the table earlier than other people. Like, you're already at the business table. That's pretty remarkable. There aren't a lot of 10-year-olds who are running their own businesses. So,
Yes.
but we can't all be at the decision-making table for the country or for the province or for our municipalities, our cities. So we elect people who are going to be at the table on our behalf. And we elect them based on shared values, things we really care about, to stand in government or in parliament and make decisions that will best serve the majority of Canadians with our best interests at heart. That doesn't always turn out that way, but I think in its most idyllic state, that is what politics is about.
Wow.
Wow. Can you repeat that back to us, Lily?
Honestly,
Big sigh.
How about we ask you at the end what you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be best.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to question number 2.
Yeah.
Question number 2 is, people sometimes sound angry in politics, and why?
People often sound angry in politics.
Yeah.
It's such a good question. Well, here's something that I think is interesting. So you are familiar with the news media, right? They probably covered your story. And if they haven't covered your story and they're listening right now, they should cover your story.
Yeah.
So we will ask them to do that. But the media, their interest is to bring the story to the people, right? So kind of like how we're electing government officials on our behalf, the news media has sort of a responsibility to bring stories to the people. And sometimes those stories are just really brief clips about what happened, right? It's really brief clips about what happens in the House of Commons during question period. And sometimes those clips can sound pretty angry. Why? Well, because those kind of provocative, angry statements are what makes people watch and makes people read the news. And I think that there is part of our system is that there's a great debate that happens almost every day. And that debate helps keep the government accountable. And that debate raises questions. And every time we raise questions, we're forcing ourselves to look for new and creative answers. So I think sometimes the anger is a little bit of a show, right? To get in the news. And sometimes it's really just about pushing for those answers and getting the best possible answers for the people that they represent. Rach, do you think that there's anything else that we should share about the anger in politics?
Well, we could talk a lot about anger in politics, but I think that our system, the Westminster system, as it's called, is based on advocacy. So there's a lot of people fighting to have their position come forward. And even in our history, when they built the House of Commons, and we've talked about the House of Commons before on this podcast, but the two sides are separated, this is one of my favorite facts, by 2 sword lengths. And that's how they determine how the House of Commons, how far apart the 2 sides are. And so there's really this kind of like battle tied into the way politics works. It's kind of at the foundation of our parliamentary system. But I think, like Amanda said, it's become theatrical and it's become over the top and less about advocacy and more about headlines, unfortunately. So hopefully we'll get back to a place where it's more about the issues and the importance of those issues than the getting on the news after a big fight.
Wow. I I feel like that. I feel like that's really true. I don't know why, but like, why would anybody be so angry at politics? I feel like politics is such a great thing to learn, and feel like, um, I feel like nobody should be angry at politics because I love, especially I'm learning and I don't even know what it is, and I love it.
The reason is because there's so much on the line.
Yeah,
When people feel really passionately about certain issues, and we're talking about decision makers, these decisions have an impact on everyday lives. And so I
yeah,
think when people get so involved in these issues, it comes off as angry, but maybe we can think about it as like a passion instead.
yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Okay, so we'll go to our next question. So the third question is, can you get involved in politics as a kid?
That's a good question. Yes, you can. You are
I know.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
right now.
yeah,
Involvement in politics has more to do with interest than anything else. Because I think that involvement or engagement can be as simple as reading and learning and talking about it with your friends, or bringing it up as a topic to your teacher, or getting the chance to meet your local politician, to more formal, like becoming a page. Do you know what a
Yeah.
page is?
no.
We're going to let Rachael explain that. Rachel's a professor also, so she does a good job of explaining the formal stuff. I was watching the pages actually at Queen's Park last week, and I thought, wow, not a lot has changed since I was there 20 years ago working. I mean, it's interesting. But so you can get involved formally. I think in grade 7 is the age that you can become a page, which is not that far off from you. Are you in grade 5?
Yeah, 5. Yeah, 5.
So there's that, but there's also like really interesting stuff. Like around election time, you can be a volunteer. You can knock on doors. You can hand out pins. You can be part of rallies. You can get to know your local politician and be part of their campaign team. Politics is one of the interesting places where it doesn't actually matter what your age is. There's an opportunity and a role. And of course, that becomes more formal if you ultimately decide that you want to, have a campaign team role or become a politician yourself. There's lots of ways that you would later get involved, but from a very young age, there's many, many ways that you can participate in the political system, which is one of the reasons why it excites me so much.
I think
Rachel, do you want to explain the page?
Oh yeah. So pages it's a program. It's different in every legislature and different in the House in Ottawa, but it's a program where you get to be on the floor of the legislature, the House, and you assist in the business of the House. So often that means bringing water to politicians, but it also means dealing with routine business and helping from the floor, which is really cool because Lily, you've seen the picture of the House of Commons, maybe? Yeah.
Yes.
So people don't realize not many people can actually enter that space unless you're an elected official or specifically invited. You can't be on the floor. And so pages get to go in, they get to help, they get to be there right at the center of democracy, which is pretty cool.
The one other thing I'll say about politics is that there's politics that happens even in your own school.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
there's class reps, or there's student council, and you'll probably see more of this as you get into some of the older grades. So a lot of people might say that they ended up getting involved in like serious politics later on in life, but it started really early by being part of like a student council as a really young student. And I think that's really cool, and it's interesting that at a very young age we kind of have this invitation, which is get involved, become a leader in your own environment, your classroom, your school. And if you don't want to do any of those things, you can also just have really interesting conversations with your mom and your dad and your friends
Yeah.
about the issues that matter, whether you care about the environment or you as a small business owner care about small business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are things that really matter. I'm sure they matter to you today. They're going to matter to you as you grow as well. So
Yeah, definitely.
have the debate.
I think a lot of people get sidetracked by the fact that you can only vote when you're 18 and age becomes that number. So people don't think about politics until they reach voting age. And yet, like Amanda pointed out, there's so much to contribute. Door knocking, I have been door knocking with my 6-month-old strapped to my chest in the hopes that she'll fall in love with door knocking and keep doing it the rest of her life. So there's always opportunities. And I always think the really fun stuff in politics, getting involved, caring about issues, those are things that you can do long before you're 18. So you can get involved today with some of the things that you care about, issues, or some of the politicians you like. They would, I'm sure, love to have a 10-year-old volunteer on their campaign.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. That's very interesting. Okay, so our next question is, why do you both like politics?
I think that's a great question. Why do we like politics? Amanda, what do you think?
Well, I love politics for many of the reasons we talked about today. I love asking questions. One of the things that we always say in my own household that I got from a very dear friend is be as interested as you are interesting.
Oh.
So that ask more questions. Be interested. Everyone has a lot to say about, or should have a lot to say about themselves and their own environment. But when you ask questions, you're learning about the world around you. And I think politics at its core is about that. It's about asking a lot of questions, being really curious, being interested in the world around you, being interested in communities that may not be your own, learning about other communities. And I think that's what makes politics so exciting. Also, I love a good debate. You know?
I can't tell.
Little.
Yeah.
I like debate. They're fun to have. So
Yeah, definitely.
right?
Yeah.
I bet you have a few for sure.
Yeah.
About topics that you're passionate about.
You're such a 10-year-old mom. I like you have a 10-year-old for sure at home. I have a 2-year-old, so I'm like, how do I frame this in a 10-year-old way?
Yeah. I feel like I'm like a 10-year-old to my own. I'm like a mother to my own like sister and my mom, my dad.
How old is your sister?
My sister is 2.
Your sister's 2. Okay,
Yeah.
so is it just you and your sister?
And my mom and my dad, yeah.
So you're probably not having big debates with your 2-year-old sister.
I'm having big debates with my 2-year-old. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. She.
But she probably keeps you on your toes.
She does. She's a big hooligan. She finds something. She draws on carpets. She draws on walls.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we remember. Oh well, you're in those days, Rachel, but I remember those days.
Living them every day.
Yeah.
I think for me, why I love politics is because I like problem solving a lot. I think lawyers are innately problem solvers. Some will argue with that, but I think in politics and understanding the way that systems work in politics helps me to help other people with their problems. So when somebody says, oh, there's a garbage truck outside of my house every morning and it's making a lot of noise, understanding politics allows me to say to them, okay, here's how you make that better. Or here's why this rule applies to you. Yeah. This is the law that this government has passed. So I think that knowledge is power. And in politics, knowing what's going on, being aware of what's in the news, understanding the systems of politics really helps us to solve problems in our communities.
Definitely. I agree on that. Okay, so our other question is, okay, why do you think kids should care about politics?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Even I said that.
Well, okay, why do you think kids should care about politics?
I feel like, honestly, because I'm 10. I'm still a kid, and I love politics, even if I don't know about it. I love it, and I feel like kids should care about it, because at the same time, what I was just talking to my mom, if I don't do it, then somebody's not going to do it, and if I do it, maybe someone's going to do it.
Ah,
Does that make
you
sense?
have hit on something really, really important about politics. And
Yeah.
that's the idea that politics is a community sport, so to speak.
Yeah.
And there's definitely the idea that if one person does it, you can share the reason why you're doing it, and someone else may join along, and then someone else may join
Yeah,
along.
and that's
before
how,
you know it, tell us.
like, it's how you create a community, and the bigger it gets, like, the more people really love it. And I feel like that's a big thing. That's a big thing that I should do. And I feel like if I do it, like what I'm doing right now, then maybe someone else will do it. And if somebody else does it, then like what you just saying, somebody else will join along. So I feel like it's really a big thing to I do, and I feel it's great to do. And
It's true. And
know about
when
the
all
world.
those people join along,
Yeah,
change can happen. Right?
yeah,
That's how you
definitely.
make big change. And it could be small change, or it could be really big change. And that's what's so exciting about politics, is that the decisions that we make, everything from our environment and how we treat our environment, to our schools, and like things that are interesting for your age. For instance,
Yeah.
how many students are in a classroom per teacher?
Like,
That's a political decision.
yeah,
That was decided by politicians who
Yeah.
said, we need to, in Ontario, there's a cap on class size for the younger grades, because they knew that younger kids would learn better if the class sizes were smaller.
Yeah.
Well, that matters, right? Or
Yeah.
how long our wait times are when we go to the hospital. Have you ever had to go to an emergency room?
I've never seen one in my life before.
Well, lucky you. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, sometimes you have to wait a really long time in those emergency rooms. So we say to our politicians, work on that one. We need to reduce the wait time so
Only
that
been
people
in,
don't
like,
have to wait a long time.
Clinics, like that's all I've been
Yes.
in, like dentists as well.
Same.
That's all, not emergency rooms.
But doctors are regulated by the government too. Those are
Yeah.
political decisions.
Yeah.
And
The fact
making
that
sure that people have access to a doctor, to a family doctor.
Yeah.
How our garbage gets picked up.
Yeah.
These are all things that, so basically why kids should be involved is because it affects every aspect of your life. And sometimes those ways will feel small when you're a kid. And as you get bigger and realize all of the many, many, many touch points that you have with politics, you realize just how all consuming it is. So the earlier you get involved, the better.
It's also important that kids have a voice in this country, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's important that you recognize that even though you're not 18, it doesn't mean that you're not a Canadian citizen, or that you don't make an impact on this country other ways than voting. So, getting your friends together about an issue that you care about. Maybe it's the SPCA. You really care about animal rights. Do you have pets?
I have 2 dogs.
2 dogs. Okay, great. So let's say you really want the government to make sure that dogs are protected better in this country, or they should change a law so that there's more ways to take dogs out of a situation that's bad. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a government decision, and that's something that your voice can be used on. So one of the best things that you can do is you can talk to your friends about things you care about and learn about how government or politics impacts those types of things.
Yeah. As a dog lover, I feel like that's something that should be a rule in the world. Like, protect dogs and like any other like
there you go
things in the world. Like what are they called again? Pets in the world should be protected, because I feel like they're animals, and I feel like we should really protect them.
You're in British Columbia. Maybe you'll go to the legislature in BC on Animal Rights Day and use your voice to say, I really think that dogs should be protected. Or you'll send a letter to your member of parliament and say, this is an issue that I care about. So just because you're 10 doesn't mean you don't have a voice. And I think that that's a big message that we're trying to get across today.
Definitely. Okay, so now onto our
Mhm.
next question is how should parents talk to their kids about politics?
Well, I have very little kids, so I talk to them all the time about politics. I'm not sure how much is being saturated, but I think that parents, in my mind, and I have kids that are really young, so I only have that experience, but it's for me, it's experiential. So, for example, I took my 2-year-old to a political rally, and she sat there and she watched, and we got pictures of it. And someday I'll say, "See, at 2, you were politically active," in the hopes that eventually that will make her identify with being involved in politics and continue to be involved in politics, even if she doesn't remember. It's about getting parents getting their kids involved from an early age in the hopes of a lifelong commitment to political engagement, in my mind.
Yeah.
I agree. I think exposure matters and just having great
Yeah.
conversations. Around our dinner table, we talk about a lot of things, and politics is one of the many topics we talk about. But, because I'm involved, for sure, my kids understand that this is something that mom talks about on CBC sometimes and now on a podcast. And we have great conversations. And I think one day when they're a little bit older, hopefully we'll have some really fun debates around our dinner table as well. So I think it's just about being open, sharing what is appropriate in the news about things that are happening, educating, exposure, bringing them out to things. And if you really want more involvement, election time couldn't be a better time to get kids involved. It's really fun to meet neighbors and go door knocking and be at rallies and town halls. It's a fun way to get involved.
I think a lot of parents are thinking about this question right now with everything happening in the Middle East and globally, is like, how do you talk to your children about these things? And it's so hard, but I think that having a foundational understanding of what politics is maybe helps kind of transcend that conversation. So it gives that foundation that then eases the way that you're able to talk about bigger topics like global conflicts.
So I think we might have time for, what do you think, Rachel? Maybe one more question, maybe two.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Question number 7. What are the names of the different politicians, and why are they all different?
Okay, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
So this is kind of cool because you're in BC, and politicians in British Columbia are called MLAs, which means they are members of the Legislative Assembly. In Ontario, where Amanda is, they are members of provincial parliament. So every provincial politician has a different name based on what province they're in. And they do that based on the history of the province, but they all do the same job and they all function the same way. So we're in a really big country, but we all kind of work together, but there's definitely big differences between the provinces themselves.
Yeah.
That's a short explanation.
Yes. Okay, so I agree, and that's very true. And okay, so now our 8th question is the PM the big cheese? Is he the one? Is he the one making all the decisions?
That is a funny question.
Yes.
And the answer is kind of. So he's the prime minister. So his responsibility is kind of like the buck stops with him. But he has they formed government. It means the majority of Canadians elected them, to serve Canadians. Because of that, they formed something called a cabinet. And the cabinet members all represent a different portfolio. Someone is responsible for finance, and somebody is responsible for healthcare, and somebody is responsible for the environment. And together, that cabinet makes major decisions about the future of the country, how things are going to happen and roll out. But the opposition parties hold the government to account. So in some ways, they help make decisions because they push the government to think and rethink their choices, and they make sure that the decisions that are being made on behalf of Canadians are in the best interest of Canadians.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice summation there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm vying for your job, Rachel.
I know. I'm gonna go work for Lily soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lily, any other final questions as a business owner or thoughts on politics? What you've learned in the last couple of weeks? How do you feel?
I feel like I've learned a lot from what you guys have talked about. And I feel like politics is really is a great thing to like know about and and debate on things, and I feel like I will be talking to that. I'll be talking about politics to now my 2-year-old, like my 2-year-old sister. Yeah, so she knows about politics when she's only like a young age.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Maybe someday you'll be the minister of small business.
Yeah. Manifesting, bestie.
Amanda and I will knock on doors for you.
We will.
Lol. But yeah, I feel I love politics now, and I feel I'll learn so much about politics, and I'm looking forward to know about more politics and debate. And find things I actually debate on.
Well, we want to thank you so much for joining
Yeah.
us this week. You are an amazing 10-year-old. And for those who have never seen Lily's stuff, her company is called Lily Lou's Aromas, and she is doing just incredible stuff.
Oh, thank you.
I'm amazed at your business. I don't think I could ever build a business as big as yours. So you have far exceeded my life.
You're gonna do great. You're gonna do great.
You're gonna do, you
can do hard things, Rachel.
Yeah, you can do hard things. Thank
you guys have
Lily.
already like set up a podcast. I've been like waiting to like I'm trying to create a podcast, and I haven't even released it yet. So
You could
like,
definitely do that. Lily, I have a feeling you could do anything you set your mind to. And
know.
I feel like people should remember this name,
Yep.
buy your products, but also remember your name, because maybe one day we'll see Lily's name on a ballot.
We
And
sure
that
will.
is our show
Yeah.
for today. Thank you, Lily, for your brilliant questions. We cannot wait to watch you thrive. We want to thank Tim Truax for production. Remember, if you love our podcast, tell your friends. We would love for them to subscribe. We will speak to you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.